It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is... This is Houston, AOS, over.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the TKW podcast. We are here today. The Knicks finally are back at home, but they've suffered another loss. Kyle Maggio joins me. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm good, buddy. How's everything going?
Bryan Gibberman joins me as well.
What's up, everyone?
And before we get going today, just a quick reminder that to catch up on everything that happened on the game, everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks, what we think is going to happen as the Knicks move into the second half of the season, all that can be found at theknickswall.com. You're going to make sure you want to follow myself, Corbo Anthony. There's also Kyle Maggio on Twitter, Bryan Gibberman. To spell the names out, you'll find them. Go follow the Knicks Wall on Twitter. Follow TKW Podcast. Yeah, just stay informed, stay in the know. That's what you got us for. And I would say probably the biggest news to come out of this past week is a little bit of contentiousness between Kristaps Porzingis and the Knicks management, the front office. I don't know if you can necessarily say David Fizdale himself, but a little bit of frustration from Porzingis on just the cloudiness around his injury and just some of the same issues that have kind of boiled up over the course of Kristaps being with the team, especially since he's gotten injured. In response to that, David Fizdale mentioned about Kristaps Porzingis' rehab after practice the other day, saying he's in a really a great groove right now with his workouts and his development. Obviously, he misses playing. That part has been hard, but he's starting to get stronger, so he's feeling better and seems to be in a really good place. We're still being cautious, I would say, but at the same time, just pushing, getting to the next level, jumping and moving, his strides and all that stuff. Today, I walked by and just put his hands up to like this because it's just, for me, it's like, God, I've got this 7-foot beast here, so I'll literally... He'd say, "Don't look, coach, don't look." There's a whole bunch of hand gestures in there, which is great for a quote. But all in all, it seems like Fizdale is trying to keep the pace on Kristaps Porzingis, try to keep him pretty motivated, trying to, tamper out any flames or anything that's going on or any kind of smoke signs that people are trying to read into Kristaps being unhappy with the Knicks. A lot of talk of him being a free agent at the end of the year, too. Maybe that's not necessarily a given. Guys, let's start with you, Bryan. What are you feeling about Kristaps' relationship with the franchise after what we've seen this week?
So the report that kind of stirred this up was from Howard Beck, and I forget where he said it, but it was like at the G League, whatever, where a lot of team executives go, and it's kind of a joining place for people to go talk trades and talk rumors and all that stuff. He was like, word out of this is that the Knicks and Kristaps' relationship might not be great. How do other teams or other people, if that's not sourced within the Knicks organization? So I don't know. How do you take that? I don't think that's something we should take as fact, that something is necessarily wrong there, because it's similar to the other reports about Kristaps. All these word of mouth from other people. No one is directly sourcing stuff to the Knicks organization. And until we see something with it directly sourced like that, it's nothing I'm going to pay attention to or acknowledge.
Yeah, I just don't see what the big deal is, to be quite honest. I try to look at all these situations logically over these last couple of months whenever Knicks fans freak out about anything. And, like, there's not really an upside to KP not re-signing here. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I don't think the Knicks would let him walk. I think KP just has a ton to lose, potentially. It just makes tremendously little sense for him. At worst, any contention just seems like negotiation tactics. to just try to nudge the Knicks in the right direction, maybe with, I don't know that the dollar amount's going to be lower that's offered to him, but maybe with some of the injury stipulations they might throw in the contract. Like, I can't really think of anything else that would be happening here. It's a lot of money on the line. You're going to want to make sure both parties are happy, and both parties are going to want to be careful about it. That's all that I read this as. So to Brian's point about, the other NBA sources that are talking about this, or I don't put really much stock into it at all. And considering the Knicks can match anything, I can't imagine that when push comes to shove, if it really were to happen, the Knicks wouldn't match. So the whole thing's just very, very silly to me. I don't think that that's what's going on here. I honestly don't believe a lot of it.
So I kind of wanted to go back to what you said, Kyle, about certain injury stipulations on Porzingis' contract moving forward. I think something like that is the way to go. I'm curious as to how the reaction is who knows? Kristaps' brother has been also his agent, but he's been a very heavy influence in the Knicks. Whenever the Knicks seem to feel like they've gotten comfortable with Kristaps sticking around, something comes out, and a lot of claim to that has seemed to have gone towards, his brother, his management team, and everything like that. Do you think anything like this could be a move just for them to try to, make sure that Kristaps is going to get the most money that he can from the Knicks? Do you think they're kind of, trying to make sure these stories get out there, or do you think this is just completely coincidental, or another team getting a little bit more hopeful than anything?
No, I mean, but it's like when you hear those reports about the Knicks would be interested in trading for, or exploring the option of trading for Anthony Davis. It's like, yeah, of course they are. And 29 other teams feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like, of course, every team's always interested, and especially with like Kevin Durant coming up, and then everyone's like, "Oh, the Knicks are looking into signing Kevin Durant this summer." Yeah. So is every team that could afford Kevin Durant, and even some teams that can't, so that they could explore options to move players to make room for Kevin Durant. Like, of course, every team wants to meet with or see Kevin Durant. Like, it just doesn't. Like, it's just such an obvious thing. So I just don't see the outrage over it. Of course, teams are going to be interested. KP is going to be a superstar. He's heading there if he's healthy. This is assuming full health, obviously, like I am. And of course, teams are going to be interested in signing him. Period. This is a little off, but I don't think the Knicks should balk if push comes to shove. Like, if he's really going to go try to sign elsewhere, to avoid the injury protections, like just pay him. Just pay him. Like, the Knicks haven't been able to land a star like that that's homegrown. Like, I mean, if you miss on KP and he does become an injury-riddled guy and he can't stay healthy and he misses seasons at a time, like, you kind of just take your lumps on that, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I don't know how anybody else feels, but like, you're already basically going to pay him near max or max money with the injury stipulation. So if you got to guarantee it to keep him healthy, and again, the other part of that to me is it's a good gamble, because you need to give off that vibe to free agents. Like, hey, when we get a guy here that's this good, that could change a franchise around or help us, we're going to make sure we pay him, even with the injuries. We're going to put the good faith into him, and we think it's a good risk. Like, the Knicks need to gamble a little bit with that kind of stuff to build the good PR. You can't just, forfeit all your assets in trades anymore and try to cover your asses. Like, they've been working to kind of present that new culture and image. Like, to me, that would be another part of it.
The only thing you should be concerned about is if, as a restricted free agent, he decides to sign he signs one of those 3-year deals with the third year being a player option, while you're trying to keep that money open to go after the max free agents. I understand being worried about him doing something like that so he could hit unrestricted free agency 3 years earlier, but that's also very risky for him, because he's giving up 5 years max money just to be a free agent. So I'm with Kyle. If it comes down to it and he's going to get pissy about it and you need to offer him the 5 years guaranteed to keep the relationship good, just do it. And whatever happens, you live with it, because you're taking a shot on huge upside. I'm not going to complain about it. It's not giving that contract to Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
Or even like the Amar'e Stoudemire deal. When to me, honestly, I felt that was a justified move, given a different context, but sort of similar in the sense like they had young, decent talent like in Gallinari and Wilson Chandler, and they're just like, look, we gotta sign somebody. Like we just gotta get one person in the door. So I understood like them giving him the fully guaranteed at the time, but this isn't even that to me. Like this isn't even like you have somebody. How old was Amar'e when he signed here? He was 27, 28?
In that range. He was
in that range.
Yeah.
He already had a good, 7 years in Phoenix, and he already had his knee surgery. Like you knew what you were doing with Amar'e. Like you knew full well the kind of player he was and his history. Like that's a full career to go off of. Like KP, you don't have a ton. He's still younger anyway. I just think this is not like a crippling free agent acquisition kind of thing. This is like, look, this is our talent. This is a kid we drafted. This is a kid we're going to get healthy and right and do what we need to do and to invest in his future. Like it's a different thing.
That's the principal difference there too. That's it's when you're, Amar'e was not coming off his rookie deal or anything like that. He was also not the homegrown talent, like you're saying. Like Kristaps has so much more that he can prove, and so like Amar'e's knees were already near the end of their career by the time he signed with us, and that was kind of a relatively known thing. But like a big part of Amar'e coming there was to make a splash because Carmelo was more of a known quantity at that point that he would be coming around the Knicks. It's just different. Where now Kristaps is a full focus here, and he's everything you're saying. He's younger, and I think just the way that contracts are made today too, like there's more acceptance of some kind of injury benchmarks to hit or performance benchmarks for players to hit. Back then it was just like Amar'e wanted full 5 years, $100 million, no nonsense about it, and there wasn't much the Knicks could do. I feel like before Kristaps goes out and does anything bold like sign the shorter contract, they'll at least have that conversation with the Knicks. Can you guys believe, I'm just looking back to this now, the Knicks signed Amar'e Stoudemire 9 years ago.
Yep.
9 years ago, dude.
I was really, really excited about it. Like really, and I knew the risks. I was younger, but like I knew the risks, and I was still just really. That's how desperate we were for just anybody. Like I was so excited that I was just like, whew. The only guy I really didn't want them to sign was Joe Johnson, to be quite honest. Like unless he was a second star, and they got Amar'e, and I remember thinking like, well, it's not the guys that we wanted, but Amar'e's still really good. Like I could at least enjoy watching some basketball this year. That was my very first thoughts. So, and in all fairness, Amar'e was really, really good the first season, really before that back injury happened. And then back injuries are very hard to come back from, and he was never quite the same player when he returned. But that first season was very much fun for me.
I liked the signing at the time. Me now, if they did that move, I wouldn't have been in favor of it. I don't think.
I still ride for Amar'e. Like I will be an Amar'e Stoudemire stan till the day that I die.
Oh God, no.
I like. Listen, I'm aware. I'm aware of everything that went down. I'm aware that in hindsight, probably not the best move for the Knicks to make. All things considered. But man, I just love Amar'e Stoudemire. There's just something irrational about it. I will rock with Stat till the day I die.
Yeah, and I think I told the story already, but the other soft spot I have for him was I won that contest on his website. So I got to go to the open practice because of him to do a little meet and greet, and like that was a really nice experience. So I'll always have a soft spot for that guy.
That wasn't the time you made a joke about Turioff, was it?
That was the time I made a joke about Turioff. Amar'e did find it funny.
Sunday, the Knicks lost a matinee matchup at Madison Square Garden against the Philadelphia 76ers. To get a full recap of that game, head to theknickswall.com and check out the piece from Mike Cortez. You can check him out on Twitter at CortezEra. So we are going to be kind of running a new type of segment on the TKW podcast now. We're calling it Knicks Tape, bringing back the term from a couple of years ago and, keeping it alive. But we're just going to deep dive onto some of the more recent games since the last time we talked. And today we are going to go deep into the 76ers game because it wasn't just that the Knicks lost another game and this time lost at home. There was a lot of good that came out of this game, I think. There was, we got Frank Ntilikina back on the floor. There's some interesting things from him. Obviously, we had a big game from Kevin Knox, and we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. But getting us started here tonight, Bryan, what was your biggest takeaway from that matchup against the 76ers?
You brought up Frank, so we can start with Frank, and that's the type of impact we're looking from him to make. I think he hit 4 shots. He made 4 shots, and I think all 4 of his layups were at the rim. And most of his attempts were going towards the basket. He took a 3. He took a weird fadeaway over Embiid. And I don't think it's out of the question that the other 9 shots were all in the restricted area. And even when they weren't going in, it was creating other stuff because he had to draw attention to him. How he made that happen was the open space that people give him because they don't respect his jump shot. He attacked that decisively, and it led to a lot of good things. The defense was excellent, and he did it against a player in TJ McConnell, who I know people might not really respect him, but Frank struggled a lot against the 76ers over his career, so it was good to see him do this in this game.
Yeah, I just thought it was a really nice all-around effort from Frank. Kind of reminded me a little bit of the Nuggets game, just like how balanced it was of an attack from him. And he, really got to play some minutes tonight, which was nice. Almost 30. He was at 27 and a half. But it just looked like they flowed really well with him out there. It was one of those games you could tell like he just wasn't thinking. He was just playing. And I said it on Twitter, and that's what really bothers me with Frank, is because now I'm starting to get annoyed with him because games like this, and he didn't even put up big numbers, but it's like you just see the things that he could do and how impactful he is when he's in the game, with him on the floor. And the ball just moves a little bit better when he's flowing like that. And the offense just looks a little bit better. He's engaged on defense. The team defense is a little bit better. And it's fun to watch. And it frustrates me because he doesn't do it consistently. And he has the IQ and the skills to do it.
The thing is, he just looks so effortless out there today.
Like he made a couple of passes. Like I think there was one to Hezonja, and Hezonja was rolling to the rim. I think they set a little like a little screen for him at the high post, and he was curling down into the paint. And Frankie just hit him like perfectly, like a over the head kind of. I think it was over the head or it was a chest pass, but it was beautiful.
It's just and and even Frank's off-ball play. Like he's finding good ways to connect with like all the different guys on the court. You're mentioning with Hezonja there. He's had some nice connections with Vonleh. Kornet, I feel like he knew exactly where he was going to be all night tonight. And obviously Kornet had a couple of misses to kick things off, but ended up having a pretty good scoring game when all was said and done. But I think the thing that impressed me the most about Ntilikina tonight was just the way that he was moving without the ball in his hand. Even just making the one pass or getting it, out onto the wing and then cutting across to the other side and getting open on the weak side. It's just like he seemed to be really able. He just seemed to, in the couple of games that he missed, pick up on exactly what spots he has command over on the floor. And I'm hoping that can carry over into the next game.
Kornet's a nice pairing with him. How Kornet moves around the court, whether it's popping or he finds open space. And the passing from Frank today is where you saw that if there's a little bit of structure, and I know people talk about how he was drafted to play in a system, and I think to an extent, it doesn't necessarily have to be the triangle, but a system that incorporates a lot of off-ball movement will accentuate Frank's passing in a good way and kind of help bring out the best version of him. And having Kornet and eventually having Porzingis, those are 2 guys that open up a lot of space and move well without the ball, and it makes Frank look better as a player.
Yeah, and to that Frank and Kate, I'm getting ahead of myself now. To that Frank and Kornet pairing point you made, That's actually a really good point, and I know we talked about it a couple different times, but we mentioned Kornet being a fill-in for KP, and one of the most effective duos last year, I think, if not the most effective duo last year for that Knicks team, was Porzingis and Ntilikina on the floor. Am I correct? Am I remembering this correctly?
Nope, absolutely.
Okay, so it's not really strange to see the offense playing well with Kornet as like that KP proxy. You know, like him just being able to do like 10% of what KP can do. That in and of itself like helps Frank to feel comfortable. Like we saw him last year play really good with KP, and the problem was he wasn't always playing his minutes with KP. And I'm starting to feel like that a little bit more now. Like, do you guys remember that game against the Pacers last year? I think it was in like November, that comeback game they had. And I think Frank played really well with KP, like in the fourth quarter on both ends. Like nothing overly impactful, but if I'm remembering this game correctly, they were flowing really nicely to fight and come back in that game, which they ultimately won. And it just kind of reminded me of that with Kornet tonight. Like I got a little like flash of KP back, and it was nice to see Frankie comfortable again. And it reminded me of that pairing from last year. Makes me excited for the future.
There were two games that kind of happened in with Frank and KP taking over at the end. It was the Pacers game and the Lakers game, both at MSG.
Ah, yes, the Lakers game too. There was a couple of fun ones.
So let's kind of dive into some of the other points from the 76ers game. We're going to be bringing on the Knicks Wall's Ty Jordan to talk in a little bit about Kevin Knox some more. So before we get to that, I kind of wanted to touch on, and this kind of goes from the Indiana game as well, but Allonzo Trier is just continuing to struggle out there. He got into the game pretty late against the Sixers. He didn't make it in until the end of the first quarter. And then, like, he was still being aggressive. Like, he's still trying out there, but he's just not making very smart decisions when he has the ball in his hand. I mean, like, so often we see him just running towards the rim and then not being able to get around someone and just be caught completely flat-footed in the middle of the paint and trying to make a pass out of it. It's just he's not looked extraordinarily comfortable over the ever really since before even Christmas Day. Kyle, do you have any kind of idea of what's really going on with Allonzo Trier? I mean, even with Tim Hardaway Jr. out tonight, he was not able to get the minutes or the opportunities that he hoped for.
I mean, the first couple of games that he came back, like from Christmas and then, the last couple of weeks, it looked like he was trying to force the issue too much. And like tonight, he didn't take too many shots. I think he was 0-4 from the field, but he didn't score tonight, and it just looked like he wasn't feeling it. So he was aggressive on a couple of drives or trying to get into the paint, but I don't really know what it is. I do wonder if he's still injured a little bit, but I don't know. He's just not doing. I feel I don't know if he's overthinking it, but he's just not. It's not like that same sort of directness to his aggressiveness anymore. Like it used to be. You knew he was going to get to the rim somehow. Like you knew he was trying to break somebody down to get there, and like now he just kind of seems to be fumbling it a little bit. Like he tries to hesitate at the rim a little bit. Hesitate on the perimeter a little bit too long instead of, before it used to be like a quick move and then he'd go, or he was trying to get somewhere with his dribble moves. It doesn't seem like that anymore. And then he's still trying to run to the rim like he was. And I'm just, I don't know. I think he just needs another week or so to kind of get back into the swing of things. He had a really good couple of months, so I don't want to start disbelieving in him, but
yeah, he played only 12 minutes tonight, went 0 for 4 from the field, didn't score, took 2 3-pointers and missed them, no free throws.
He had one really, really nice block. It was a chase down block.
We wondered if Fizdale was going to have accountability for other young players besides just Frank, and right now we're sort of getting the answer to that, and it's yes, because he is pulling Trier earlier. He's having a quicker trigger with Trier not playing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got one of those not play at all stretches here soon. He played 12 minutes against the Sixers, 6 against the Pacers, even though that was probably the best game he's had since coming back. 29.
Yeah, that looked like he was pretty he was aggressive to a good degree in that game. Like he seemed to be actually getting into a position to either put up a shot or make a nice pass, but this one it just seemed like he was dribbling into the abyss.
Yeah, and Hezonja's been playing really well too. Like this has gone on for a good week and a half or so now. So I don't know. Hezonja's just been very direct. He's just been kind of going right to the rim. He's trying to attack. He's trying to dunk on guys now. Not now, but
hilarious though.
When he started jumping, I was like, "There's no fucking way." And then about halfway through it, I was like, "Oh, he might actually do it. Like this guy's like unbelievably confident." And then he ended up missing it. But he's just I know he's not very good or hasn't been very good this year. He's playing well now, but he is entertaining if nothing else.
I was continuing to be critical of him, even with the better numbers recently. The Sixers game was the best I thought he played. There wasn't even any of those. Like, even though he'd been putting up numbers, there was still a lot of questionable decisions happening, and the bad defense was still showing up. Tonight, I thought the defense was better. He had a couple of nice one-on-one plays. He had, I think, 2 steals off the top of my head that I remember seeing. Yeah, there were 2 steals, had a couple good passes, rebounded well, and the decision-making was direct is a very good word for how he's been attacking the basket recently. So even I was impressed with how he played against the Sixers. I thought that was his best game out of probably this season.
Yeah, he just seems to be more control, or at least tonight he seemed to be more controlled. He just seemed to be, he looks like he's not doing too much out there. Hezonja does, so that is an encouraging thing to see. Did you guys have any other points you wanted to touch on in the Sixers game before we moved on to talk to Ty?
It's not a coincidence that the defense was better, and it was 36 minutes of Dotson, 28 minutes of Frank. I mean, 19. I think that those two, when we continue to see those two play, and then it'd be nice to see this group of who played and just plug in Mitchell Robinson. I think that's probably the best mix that you'll find this year.
I'm curious with this game. It's actually really interesting that even with Tim Hardaway Jr. out, Courtney Lee didn't even play a minute in this game. And like you still had Lance Thomas getting in there. The starting lineup was really interesting for this game, but you still had Lance Thomas going in there and getting a couple of minutes in there as well. But once you get Mitchell Robinson back, it feels like this lineup is pretty similar to the style of play we would see if the Knicks, full on rested their vets and only played the young guys for development for the rest of the season.
And Tim Hardaway included. That's my bad. Add Mitchell Robinson and Tim Hardaway to this group. And that's pretty much what I want to see play for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I don't want to put too much stock into the offense playing well in this game without Timmy, which I know it's a common theme. I know Bryan brought it up on the pod maybe a couple weeks ago, when Timmy missed that one game and everybody replied to Bondi's tweet about how the ball movement was going to be so much better and everything, and then the Knicks couldn't score whatsoever. You remember this?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I feel like everybody gets ahead of themselves with Tim Hardaway Jr. stuff, but I think the offense was exceptional in like guys like Kornet playing well, and Frankie and Dotson, they were really helping keep the ball moving. Kornet had 5 assists. Like it was just a really good team effort. It was kind of like just one of those nights, in my opinion. I enjoyed seeing it. I don't think that it really like Timmy being out helped that a little bit, like helped them move the ball. But this isn't something that's typical of them that we've seen in other games without Timmy when the offense has gone to complete hell. So it was encouraging. I enjoyed it very much. I had a tremendously good time watching this game. It was very fun. But I wouldn't put too much stock into it. Like, I wouldn't do the whole "this is why Tim Hardaway Jr. sucks" thing. Let's just get ahead of that one.
Yeah, the third quarter was. No, go ahead, Bryan.
Okay, it was the defense more than the offense there. Right. Close. It was the offensive rating for today was only, or for Sunday was only a 104. The defense was a 105.9. So that's where your real big improvement came. The offense really wasn't that good without him.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it really manifested itself in the third quarter, it seemed like, where the Knicks held the 76ers to only 17 points, which is like, it was 36 in the first, 30 in the second to pull off a 17-point, defensive third quarter after that. That's pretty solid for them coming out of halftime. And that's when that's when it kind of looked like the team was getting some confidence going. Knox was scoring like crazy. Ntilikina looked aggressive with his dribble more than anything. Like not even just, putting up the open shot when he had it or driving it towards the rim. Like he was squaring up against Jimmy Butler and beating him off a couple of points. And that was, that's just an encouraging thing to see. And it's just that kind of tempo that leads the Knicks to, holding a team to 17 points and scoring 32 points of their own. It's just a very exciting thing to see how they played coming out of the half.
I wonder if that was a point of emphasis, because I wonder if Frank, who doesn't start, I wonder if they assumed he was going to match up against TJ McConnell a lot. And I think McConnell's a hell of a player, especially for the Sixers off the bench. But I think maybe that might have been part of the game plan of like, hey, man, like you are bigger and stronger than TJ McConnell. Like you should be able to get by him with your length. Like, or sometimes he goes off ball like the Reddicks. Like I wonder who they thought he was going to be matched up with primarily. And I just think that might have been a point of emphasis to work the ball, to get Frank to work the ball towards the rim. Like, because that's what it seemed like. Frank just, had a very clear role tonight, in my opinion. And it looked like he wasn't like stuck making his own decisions. Like even on a couple of his assists, it just seemed like they were easy reads. Like there was a pick and roll, I think it was with Dotson. And as soon as the defender came, the second defender came towards Frank, he was already looking to throw it back to Dotson for the three. So it just seemed like they had a very clear plan for Frank tonight. And I think that speaks to Bryan's point about needing him to play a certain way. I think it works better for him that way. But we'll see if it maintains with Frank, because as is always the case, I feel like he can never get too high or too low.
We are joined now by the Knicks Wall's own Ty Jordan. What's going on, Ty?
Hey, what's happening, boys? It's Ty, aka the Handsome Heckler, aka Maggio Jordan, aka Half Man, Half Windsor, aka Tyrantula, BKA Bumba Clout, aka Tyrannosaurus Chags. How you guys feeling?
Where could people find you on Twitter between all of those AKAs?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at definitely not Ty. So if you're one of those people who consistently misspell definitely and spell as defiantly, you're probably never gonna find me.
Yeah, so definitely spell check before you go and look up Ty on Twitter. But the reason why we brought you on today is to discuss a recent article of yours. You talked a lot about Kevin Knox's offensive game and where he can improve from now. And I'm really curious to get your input on not only what you had discussed with like his 3-point shooting and how he's a little bit better off when he's not dribbling in your piece, but I want to know how this game from today impacted your thought on Kevin Knox. And obviously 31 points is a big milestone for him to hit in his career.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have mentioned it yet, but that's actually that's a higher career high than Jason Tatum, who was also 19 years old, and we're known with
wait a second. You're telling me Kevin Knox is only 19 years old?
He's 19 years old. I know, right?
Wow.
Guys, did anybody know this?
This is development to me.
Brian?
I had no idea.
Surely we thought 20 or 21. He is only 19 years of age.
He looked like a prime 25 to me. I don't know.
Oh, Jesus Christ. He's only 19?
And he has a higher career high than Jason Tatum, huh?
Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics? Coached by the genius Brad Stevens? Oh, my God.
Man's on the hot seat, I hear.
Oh, my. He's coaching for his job. He's coaching for his job yet again.
That comes, you know what? That comes with the genius, which is funny. He's on the hot seat, but, he was lauded as an offensive genius, as just like, oh, man, look at him with all these parts, all these guys are going down and they're still competing at such a high level, but you got everyone back, but you kind of take a step back. Like it's kind of funny, but that goes with it at the same time.
So let's refocus back on the Knicks real quick here.
I'm sorry.
No, that's us. But believe us, we never missed an opportunity to rag on the Celtics. But so looking at your piece, one of the biggest things that stood out to me is Kevin Knox's 3-point shooting this year compared to his season in the NCAA while at Kentucky. And I'm looking at it now, and he shot 35.3% from three this season. And this article was written on January 12th, so that doesn't take into account Philadelphia's game. But, he's shooting 35.3% from three in his rookie season now. While at Kentucky, he shot 34.1% from three. And that's most notable because the NCAA three-point line is obviously, closer to the rim than the NBA's one. That improvement, I feel like, is getting overlooked, but you think that's a really big part of his improvement so far, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, I didn't see him as being a three-point shooter coming in. I thought he would just be average, hover around the league average, which he is kind of at the league average right now, but with the added distance and just a shorter shot clock too. We can't forget about that. That it's been impressive, and honestly, I'm very impressed with how he's shooting. Him being a 3-point shooter, but I think it really is the fact that he gets the ball, or one thing they did this last game was they really tried to get Knox the ball, like in his spots where he would just need to, toss up a shot and just go up and shoot, or just take one dribble, two dribbles. Like you could actually count the number of seconds. You should have been able to count the number of seconds he had the ball in his hands on possession with one hand. So I think the less he thinks about it, the better off he'll be, at least from the 3-point line.
That's one of my favorite things about Knox. You brought it up, is that they're not going to have to drill out of him the holding the ball too much thing. He's always trying to attack quick and move quick and make quick decisions. And if he doesn't do it, most of the time he'll move the ball instead of just standing around holding it and going nowhere.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like has been the big thing that's improved with him, like before his ankle injury to after, was just he coming into his rookie season, like many other rookies around the league, but he was just a reasonable amount of hesitant. He thought a little bit too much about when he needed to take a shot up. He thought about driving or not. He thought about whether he can go through the contact or try to avoid it. And that would often lead to missed opportunities for him. And it feels like ever since December, ever since he's gotten back healthy, he's now just that kind of, he's just quicker at making decisions. And I think you're right. It's added so much to what he can bring to his game. You actually dropped the number here too, that you said the Knox shoots 41.7% when he takes one dribble before a shot attempt. And that's not very impressive, but you also stated that's the highest field goal percentage amongst his dribble attempts before taking a shot. So it's just like, it just reinforces that point that the quicker his decision making is going to get, the better of a player he's going to become.
Absolutely. And even just looking at the game today, you can see his 3-point, 75% of his threes were assisted on. So it's a matter of getting him the ball. So I think it's a matter of really getting him while he's in his sweet spots. He really doesn't have. I don't think he really has a hot spot yet, or specific spaces like Kobe had. When he played, it was all about just keeping him out of his spots. But I think he can develop those, and just getting him the ball where he has a little bit of space, because he's 6'9", he's got the long arms, he can shoot over anybody, well, almost anybody. We saw what Joel Embiid did, but I really do think it's important. Get like a facilitator, someone facilitating, giving him a little bit of space is so important. Whether it's one dribble, zero dribbles, it's really important for him as a scorer to just get a little bit of wiggle room, because he can't make his own shot yet. He simply can't.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, you stayed in here as well, sharing the court with Emmanuel Mudiay and Tim Hardaway Jr. and guys like that are going to be, it's going to be crucial for him and how he grows. Just guys who are able to feed him, the ball more at the position that he needs to be at. It's just going to be, he just still needs to be set up right now, and everything else is going to grow along with that. But, putting it, so I guess my question then would be, you have kind of Emmanuel Mudiay here, you have Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm thinking like we should be playing him as many minutes with Frank Ntilikina as we possibly can, correct? Like if it's crucial for along with Mudiay and Hardaway to be hitting him, where they're already a little bit more developed in how they are as playmakers, but Frank Ntilikina, someone who's still trying to develop that part of his game, like I just think it's going to be incredibly crucial to have him out there with Knox as he works on becoming a more efficient scorer.
Absolutely. And you already saw just like this game and the one before how effective they can be running in transition. Like I think this game, there was a possession in this game. He comes and swipes the ball Frank scores, swipes the ball from Embiid from behind, and it was Kevin Knox who ran the break for in the layup, and there was something very similar in the game before that, and it was just a thing of beauty, just watching them go out there, run, pick up the pace, get in the paint, and that's where I think both of them can use their strong suits. Frank's defense leading the offense, and Knox being a strong finisher around the rim. I think they could have a lot of success in New York if they develop and really build some chemistry between each other and just getting up and down the floor. No matter whether it's working or not momentarily, I think they'll find a rhythm that'll really start putting the defense on their heels and getting them nice open looks, even if they don't end up being just straight up shots at the rim.
Yeah, I think as as we move along with the season now, just trying to play as many of those guys together, especially the guys that we need to develop together, it's going to be crucial. I mean, we saw a little bit of last night too, where it was just less vets playing. It led to a little bit more of an open floor, open offense from the Knicks. Obviously, obviously Kevin Knox is able to do what he did out there, and everyone else is able to cook a little bit. Ty, did you have anything else you wanted to touch on with Knox before we get you out of here today?
Well, one thing I'm like seeing is a little bit more aggressiveness, not just in the shooting, but other parts of the floor. Like he had 7 rebounds. He had 7 rebounds tonight, didn't he? Yeah, 7 rebounds tonight, and he hadn't had that many rebounds in quite some time, to be honest. Since about mid-December, he hadn't had 7 rebounds. And, he got a little bit beaten up by Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid early in the game. But I liked him staying with it and staying aggressive. And I think he became a better defender over the course of the game just by getting into him and, not letting these, really strong guys get him down. So I'm liking what I'm seeing off the ball, too. Really am.
Yeah, I think I agree about the defense. He kind of rose to the occasion a little bit more. God, I'm just looking at his numbers again, his box score. He played 44 minutes tonight.
That's another thing. That's kind of...
Is that too much? Is that pushing Knox a little bit too far, or is he kind of shown that he can handle it right now?
I think with, in his first season... you just want to get him a lot of experience on the court. I think it's fine. First 1 or 2, seasons he plays some, he played some high minute games like that. He's young, athletic, and when he's playing well, you don't want to take him out because maybe something will just click and he'll learn something new. So I think it's fine for the time being, but you don't want to turn him into one of those Thibodeau kids where they just have a million miles on them from playing 45 minutes a game for 10 years. That's kind of a scary thought to think about, running your starters into the ground. But I think for momentarily, Fizdale's doing the right thing. He saw that he was scoring consistently throughout the game, which is something you rarely see from Knox. So this might be his way of getting over the hump. And if he needs to play 44 minutes to get there, I'm all for it.
All right, well, you can follow Ty at Definitely Not Ty on Twitter. Go check out his new piece at theknickswall.com, Room for Growth, assessing Kevin Knox's offensive game. Ty, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, nice. It was nice being here. Hit me up on Twitter. Don't forget, I have the Periscopes, the tirade. At pregame, about 50 minutes before every game, I go on the Knicks Wall Periscope account. You can go on the Twitter too, see me talking about the game, catching up, doing a little bit of analysis, pregame, halftime, and postgame, just in case you want to see a little bit more of my face.
All right, Kyle, let's get caught up on the next couple of games. But before we do that, why don't you tell the people where they can find some more stuff from us?
Yeah, and Valentine's Day is a month away. So are you a Knicks fan and need to get a gift for someone? Go to tpublic.com, where you can grab a wide variety of our Knicks gear. The first order is 15% off. There's no code. So make sure you give it a look. If you want to get it in time for Valentine's Day for that special Knicks fan in your life. Aside from that, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube and Twitch channels for our, film breakdowns. Our podcasts go on there. Everything goes on there. So youtube.com/thenixwall and Twitch is twitch.tv/thenixwall. And we like to do our 2K pregame shows, sometimes our throwback games. So just some cool stuff coming over there in the next couple of months, so make sure you follow us there as well.
Yep. All right, so looking at the schedule coming up, it's a quiet week for the Knicks, and that's largely due in part to them having to fly across to London to go face the Washington Wizards at the O2 Arena. That game's going to be Thursday at 3 p.m. on the East Coast. And then they're also, they don't play another game after that until Monday, so after a grueling stretch, the last, the end of December, and coming back to the Garden and not winning a couple of games there either, the Knicks finally have a chance to rest some legs. It's going to be an interesting matchup with how, I guess, dysfunctional the Wizards are right now, but hopefully this means at least the Knicks can get Mitchell Robinson back in their lineup before they head over to England.
I'm really hoping he gets one game in before they go to England. That would be optimal, but
yeah, well, I mean, their next game is in England, so
never mind.
Yeah,
I totally lost track of when that game was.
It sneaks up on you every year, I feel like.
I'm very, very angry that we don't get to see the Ron Baker revenge game.
Oh, I know. God, come on.
They couldn't have kept him for. That's a stupid ass. They couldn't have kept him for another week because his contract would have been guaranteed for the rest of the season. So they know they could not. But it's very frustrating for entertainment purposes that we were denied the 10 minutes of Ron Baker going 0-1 and maybe 2 in his box score with 0 points, 1 rebound, and 2 assists, with maybe a weird steal and a dive, the quintessential Ron Baker game, and we don't get to see it.
Nope.
Why are you taunting me?
I don't apologize for it.
You're lashing out at me in a mean way. It's not necessary.
I don't think I've done it. I've only had like 1 or 2 lashes out at you since you've been on full time, and I think that's if people were betting, they would have taken the over, and I think I've done a respectable job at keeping it level.
It's just been years of me melting you out.
This is true. I don't know why anybody. If you've been listening to this from the beginning, I don't know how, because at the beginning this was unbearable. It was just weird, like half-cocked rants and just anger, just bewildered anger.
There was a lot of anger.
Yeah. So if you are one of the originals, shout out.
When do we start? The Derrick Rose year?
Derrick Rose year. Yes.
Yeah, that was.
What a year it was.
Yeah, what a year to have a podcast.
The Knicks are 9-19 when Mitchell Robinson plays. They are 1-14 when he doesn't.
Bryan, can you please tell the people, is that good?
I mean, I don't know if I would use good, but it's better.
Just checking.
1-14, that's a .06 win percentage. 9-19 is 32%. So they basically, with Mitchell Robinson this year, they're your typical bad team. Without him, they're the worst team in NBA history.
Wow.
Okay.
I think that's about all I can say to that. So I feel like the Knicks very desperately need Mitchell Robinson back. I mean, Luke Kornet even struggled before this game against the Sixers, and the Knicks didn't even really start a center against this last game. I mean, they chose to just have Noah Vonleh out there against Joel Embiid, which is probably your best option regardless. But without Mitchell Robinson there, it's just you're going to be overmatched. But I mean, luckily the Wizards are dealing with a lot of injury problems as well. They've obviously got no Dwight Howard, and John Wall is the biggest name that's out as well, who will be out for the entire season. Markieff Morris is missing like 6 weeks here, so there's some holes to be poked in the Wizards. They still have Ariza, they still have Beal, they still have Otto Porter, everyone like that. But I feel like this is an opportunity for the Knicks to kind of be able to find some solidity in the Wizards kind of whatever they have going on there. I don't even know how to describe it.
I feel like the Knicks always get like gobsmacked by the Wizards. Like it just feels like no matter how bad the Wizards are playing, like the Knicks have always been the get right game for the Wizards in the John Wall era. The only good game I remember against the Wizards, and this is going way, way back, and this circles us back to the beginning of the pod, was that Amari's like first month, and he just terrorized John Wall one game. This is before they had the jersey makeovers to be like the Bullets again, but they sell those weird blue and gold ones. But he just had like these nasty chase down blocks on John Wall. I think the Knicks won that game. Amar'e was terrific. This is before Melo got there. But outside of that, all I remember is just Wall cooking us for a while, because we've never had a point guard, and then Beal's done a number on us in recent years. So I have no good memories of playing the Wizards.
Melo hit a pretty late in the fourth quarter game winner against the Wizards. I think it was after Dudley had talked crap about him, and then he went off.
Oh, I remember this.
And then, so I'll give a prediction. If Mitchell Robinson plays, the Knicks will win this game. If he plays 10 minutes or more, they'll win, with him, Kornet, and Vonleh splitting all the center minutes. I can't tell you how excited I am to watch this team without Cantor and Frank and Mitch playing.
Yeah, obviously no Cantor because he's going to stay stateside in fear for his life. Here's my question, though. Do you think that Enes Kanter has another cheat day while the Knicks are across the sea? Do we think that Enes Kanter is heading back for... Was that Shake Shack, by the way?
I don't know,
but Shake Shack?
That was tremendous content.
I mean, he seems to be at Shake Shack a lot on his cheat days. I mean, I'm pretty good at telling one burger from another, and
Shake
I know
Shack
you're a
is
vegan,
very, very
Kyle. You're a vegan. But I feel like...
Shake Shack makes a wonderful portobello mushroom burger.
Oh,
so
they
how
do,
dare
though.
you?
You're absolutely right. They do.
Wait, are you really vegan?
Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself?
As I tell everybody, it was the only thing I was eating at this point in time was chicken anyway, like chicken and some fish. And I started looking at that. I talked to Bailey about it, and I looked at what some of the meal replacements are. Like I already eat a lot of like eggplant and like falafel and things like that anyway. So it really wasn't much of a switch. It's just like more of those things now. It really is. It hasn't been that. They make things like the Beyond Burger. Please sponsor us, Beyond Burger. And
BeyondBurger.com/TKW podcast.
Yeah, I wish soon. And but there's a lot of things like that jackfruit. It's very, very easy. I know you don't believe it. I know this doesn't elude me from the jokes here, but it's really very easy. And I don't really miss going back.
Don't you have to like do a lot of like prepping and cooking though?
No, I mean you're eating more vegetables, so yes, but it still really isn't that bad. Like what I try to do to kind of cheat is like I just have a really big ass green smoothie in the morning with like as many servings of vegetables as I can fit with some fruit, and I just have that to try to like cut through a lot of I guess like the cooking the vegetables part. So like throughout the day I just have some proteins and the other nutrients that I need. But it's not that, it really isn't that bad.
God, I had a huge plate of chicken and waffles earlier today.
You give me your meal.
Can't get
please.
that.
I can get the waffles.
That's true.
Yeah, but not with the fried chicken. You're missing part of it.
That's okay. I like waffles.
I went to an Italian restaurant for brunch and ordered chicken and waffles, which is probably the least Italian thing on the menu, while my very Dutch girlfriend got, chicken carbonara.
Wait, they had chicken and waffles at what kind of Italian restaurant is this?
It's a Midwestern one.
So it's not an Italian
It's just,
restaurant, is what you're saying.
and you can go to any restaurant around Chicago, and they will have a brunch menu that will have chicken and waffles and some kind of Benedict on it. And any restaurant you want, they guarantee you. All right.
That's strange.
Yeah, no, it's just that good old Midwest cooking, which just means fry everything and cover it in butter. Well, dietary options aside, did you guys have anything else you wanted to discuss tonight before we got out of here? Well,
No, I think we got it.
in that case, thank you everybody for listening. Thanks to Kyle and Bryan for hopping on. Thanks to Ty for coming on as well. Don't forget to go check out his piece at theknickswall.com and all of our great content up at theknickswall.com. Rate, review this podcast, subscribe to everywhere on YouTube and everything like that. And we will talk to you all on Wednesday night or Thursday morning, whenever you listen. Take care, everyone.